Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Mountain Harmony Gardening. I'm Kristen. I wanted to do more of an informal kind of garden tour for you guys today instead of such a formal video, and kind of just take you around my garden and show you what it looks like in late August and kind of talk about what's going on, you know, some of the successes, some of the failures this year. So let's get started. All right, so I'd love to have a variety of flowers and flower pots on my deck. And you can see they're starting to bloom again. Beautiful snapdragons. And petunias always do really pretty. And they just do excellent. They're easy to take care of. Our cactus flowered really pretty this spring. Some more of what we're growing. And Donnie's favorite flower, the celosas, or the coxcombs. And these ones, they're not doing so hot this year with the lobelia in them. So those are some of the things that just don't look quite as good. And these petunias I grew from seed this year. And these ones are not flowering at the moment. I've got a Gerber daisy and a geranium in there and a dahlia. Okay. And here's my other planter with a geranium and some of the celosas that I grew from seed. We have a really bad root weevil problem in our yard. So growing roses is about impossible for me. So I decided to get a miniature rose and put it in this pot in our whiskey barrel. And also because of the root weevils, I cannot grow strawberries in ground. You can see even now that some of them are being eaten a little bit. And they absolutely love mint. I didn't know that anything ate mint besides people. And so I've had to transplant all of this into our tubs up here. And then of course some more of our petunias and our black pansies. All of this I grew from seed. Okay, now I'm going to take you to the front of the yard. And our yard is about 80 by 30, and we have a little bit behind the house that we use too. Okay. Alright, so being in late fall, or well, getting into fall, I should say, our bleeding hearts aren't doing so well. This is the time of the year that they die back. And I need to trim that all the way back to the ground, and it will come back next year. And something that I did this year is I divided all of my iris because they weren't blooming anymore. So I dug them all out of the ground, gave them a haircut, and replanted them. And as you can see, they're starting to grow new leaves. So I'm really excited to see how they do next year. And there's some of our columbine, which this one is also being eaten by the root weevils. Our barberry, they like a little bit, but not quite as much. So I have to find plants in my garden that the root weevils won't eat. Here's another one of our bleeding hearts, and our coral bell, and my dead barberry. So I have planted 3 plants in this spot, and they have all died. No matter how much I water them or how much I take care of them, they all die. The only thing that seems to be doing okay is the iris that I transplanted. So in the spring, I'm going to dig this out and I'm going to put in new soil. This is my double flowering almond. It was doing fantastic in the spring. It looked so good, and I was thinking that maybe the root weevils had died over the winter because we had a really snowy winter. Nope. All those little crinkles along the edges of the leaves are from the root weevils. And it kind of stunts the growth on this plant, but it's absolutely beautiful when it blooms in the spring. Same thing with this one. Root weevils. And I think you just saw a grasshopper jump. So, and my poor forsythia. Same thing. I think there's actually a bug in that one. So, as you can see, they have absolutely decimated this plant. I have a very hard time finding anything that will grow in my yard that the root weevils won't eat. Irises, all my lovely ground cover, and of course my pine tree that when I got it was only a few feet tall. And now look how big it is. It's actually starting to grow into our ash tree. They don't bother that at all. So this flower bed I put in over probably 5 years. And all of this ground cover started out as 3 plants, if you can believe it. And it has spread. I planted them right about here and a little bit here, and it spread all the way down. And over the years I've added in, like this was our rock that was here when we got here, and then I've added in some of these rocks that looks like monoliths a little bit, and other standing stones, because I like to add rocks into our garden to give it a little bit of vertical height, because it's very, very hard to get anything to grow in the shady area. You can see even my lawn doesn't want to grow over here, especially over here. We've been trying to seed it and everything else, and it just does not want to grow, except for this is the patch where the bird seed grows. So we're actually tempted to put bird seed down. And here's another couple of my planters. They're getting a little sad looking towards the end of the year. This is the xeriscape garden that I put in. You can see all the plants here are doing pretty good. I only lost one, but this is another one that's a ground cover that will spread too. And all of these are drought tolerant. And here you can see I still have some of their little tags in there to help me remember what they all are. And this is lemon balm. And as you can see in the leaves, the root weevils love that too because it's in the mint family. And this columbine, for some reason, they're not touching. So, and my plumeria is blooming, just got done blooming. Now these were the first raspberry bushes that I ever put in. And it was a little bit more sunny here when I first put them in, and our ash tree, after we trimmed it, came back really, really full and blocked out some of that sunlight. So we really don't get many raspberries off of it, but I love the height over here and on our homemade trellis, which we will be doing a whole new one next year because this one, as you can see, is tied to the fence. We need a new one. So that'll be a project you can look forward to in the spring. So I let the grasshoppers pretty much decimate this plant, and they seem to leave my other ones alone a little bit more. Plus our resident squirrels love to pull the leaves off and eat it. But since we really don't get much fruit off of it, I don't mind. This is where I kind of work in harmony with nature. Here is some of the raspberries that look pretty good. They haven't gotten too eaten. This is my comfrey plant. And I use it for salves. I do a chop and drop with it. You can make comfrey tea. All stuff that I will be showing you how to do on the channel. And here's my original flower bed with the irises in it. And this is the bed that was just absolutely packed full of irises. And this is where I decided that since they weren't blooming anymore, it was definitely time to divide them. And my mother-in-law also gave me some irises from her yard too. And I ended up planting over 100 irises back into my yard. I spread them all over. Okay. There is Patsy, Sebastian's rabbit. We bring her out in the morning so that she can get some fresh air, run around. Say hi, Sebastian.
Hi. Will you point to the rabbit?
You can point to the rabbit. Tell them about your rabbit.
As Mom just said, her name is Patsy. She is a rabbit that is a Holland Lock, and she has a very unique pattern, and she's really cute. For some reason, she loves bananas, and she also doesn't like the sun. You try and put her in the sun, she goes right back into the shade. And we, our other pet, cut.
No, you don't have to cut. This is a vlog. We're just going to keep going with it. It's okay, sweetie.
And our other pet, Lola, does not get along with Patsy. You bring those two anywhere near each other, Lola will hiss and run away. Lola is the cat that you've probably seen in the time lapses or just walks past us sometimes.
Oh, there's our cutie. And she loves to run around and do binkies. She's our newest addition to the family. We've had her about a month and a half. And speaking of Lola, Lola kitty kitty kitty. Yeah, there's our cat Lola. We've had for a lot longer. We've had her since before we moved in here into this current house. And she is still getting used to the rabbit. I don't think she knows what a rabbit is. So you'll see Lola in lots of our videos. We love our animals. Okay. All right, moving on to the Japanese garden. Well, I call it Japanese garden because I was inspired by Japanese gardens, but I've kind of veered away from that a little bit. I do have my cute little pagodas, and I tried to do some of the Japanese type of plants that they would have in here, and it's been more kind of what works in this area. So this is our dwarf weeping crabapple, and you can see got little crab apples. And yes, I've tried them. They are edible, but that would be a lot to make a meal out of. We just let the birds have them. And flowers really, really pretty in the spring, and then the bees come in. Okay, there is my Lucifer plant. Looking very, very sad this time of the year. This part of the garden used to be a walkway, and we had to tear it out when we first moved in, so our soil is very, very poor over here. We're actually talking about taking this part of the garden out and putting in a pond. So that's something else that you'll get to see upcoming on the channel. So you can see all the little fun elements I like to put in there, birds that light up. But I tried to do a lot of grasses. These are irises that we've transplanted everywhere. I put in some hostas this year, since it's a little bit more of a shady garden. And when they're in bloom in the spring, and this one got done blooming not too terribly long ago, I will definitely be showing you all of that, because it's really, really pretty. This is kind of when the garden starts looking sad. And here is my trellis that goes into the Japanese garden area. Let me back up for you guys and show you. This is where I put my hammock. And yes, excuse that we're residing the house. But this is probably my favorite spot in the whole garden. The hammock was a Mother's Day present several years ago, and I actually made this whole Japanese garden based around my hammock. I wanted a spot that I could come out here and lay down and relax and look up at our beautiful trees. Okay, this side of the garden is my herb bed. So my oregano, which I planted last year, has absolutely taken over. It's grown everywhere. The bees love it. It's flowering so pretty. Apparently the root weevils love it a little bit too, but luckily they don't eat too much. And then here's my lavender plant, and it's gotten done flowering. My sage plant, and these are my gladiolas, and they are just getting done blooming too. More gladiolas. I've got gladiolas all over this bed. And this is our apple tree that we put in last year. It didn't flower this year, but boy has it put on a lot of growth. So I'm hoping that next year it will flower. And look, I don't know if you can see the spider web or not, but we get a lot of orb weavers, and I just let them be because they eat the bugs. And we definitely have a bug problem in my garden. Okay, here's coming out so you guys can see the front. Another one of the little pagodas. Birds. Birds. More birds. I love the light up birds. I like this kind of whimsical feel to the garden. And there you can see the gladiolas just got done flowering. And there's some more pine. And I planted some iris in here this year. This is the fullest that this bed has ever looked. The grasses are doing good. Oh, there's some lemon thyme. I cut it back drastically in the spring, and it's come back beautifully. And so the sage, I cut these back every year. But this year I really cut them back hard. So if we turn around, this is where you can start to see some of my food garden. Now this spot, I used to have a greenhouse from Harbor Freight. And I love the idea of having a greenhouse, but it didn't work for us. The panels didn't stay in, it got so super hot that I had to take the panels out to try to grow anything in there, and it was just too hot. So I decided, instead of having an unproductive greenhouse, it was also too cold in the summer or the springtime, and I couldn't grow any seedlings in it, even with seed mats in there trying to keep them warm. So we decided to have a productive garden, and we got a volunteer catnip plant that used to be way on the other side, and a volunteer borage plant that used to be way on the other side of the garden too. But as you can see, look at those zucchinis. I definitely need to pick those today because they are way too big. And I have planted in all of the little pockets. I absolutely love these cinder blocks. And I'm going to be taking out more of my regular brick. So you can see that my zucchini plants, oh my goodness, there's another monster zucchini in there. But you can see that they are very big. The first time I am growing this year is huckleberries. I've been waiting for them to get kind of soft because it said they needed to be soft before they were ripe. They're definitely dark in color. And I've never had a huckleberry. I've never grown them before, but I'm really, really interested to see how they turn out. I'm going to try and make some huckleberry jam with them. And as you can see, I've got fennel on the side, green onions on this side, and this is my really, really super shady bed. It doesn't really get much sun at all. So this is where I grow all of my greens, and that is a perennial kale at the end. I've had some of them perennialize and some of them don't. We've got collard greens, which are doing absolutely beautiful because it's finally starting to cool off. Some asparagus poking through that I thought had died. That's why I planted the collard greens, and then all of a sudden they came up. And then there is a Swiss chard plant, and I have more kale buried in here. And I have found that the curly leafed kale does not get eaten by the bugs. So I let this one go to seed because I'm going to be saving the seeds and spreading them throughout the garden next year so I can get more kale plants. And here is a front view. You can see that all the fennel is starting to go to bloom. And of course, the beneficials absolutely love these umbrella flowers. And my marigolds over here are doing great. Nasturtium. And even my basil's getting eaten this year. And I've got beets in here. Lots and lots of beets. And then over here, I've got carrots growing. And then I planted dahlias in the corner because I absolutely love dahlias, and I'm determined to get them to grow in our yard. More marigolds. Marigolds grow like weeds. Okay, I'm going to take you up to our pumpkin patch. Actually, it's more than pumpkins. I've got spaghetti squash back here too. So they have definitely gone out of this box back here. So they go up, up, up to the sunflowers, and all the way across. And then on this side, on the top, they've gone up, down, 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 and all the way here. Pretty soon they're going to be growing next to the shed. But I've had this set up for several years, and we're actually going to change it next year, so you guys will get to see that too. And I put nasturtiums underneath because they seem to like it underneath here. And you can see I've got some more buds blooming. And I tried a sunflower this year in the middle, and it blew over the other day when we had a really big windstorm, and we were able to tie it back up, and it's still living. So let's see if I can get a good shot of the pumpkin. Oh, look, it's starting to turn orange. We've always done really well with our pumpkins. And there's the spaghetti squash, and we do have a couple other pumpkin patches. Oh, there's Lola again. So we've got that one that's starting. Kind of more male flowers this year. That's why I want to change the bed. And this monster over here is her tomatillo plant. You can see the tomatillos. We've already been harvesting tomatillos off of them. And normally, you can see the walkway in there. I can walk in between these and I can get to the tomatoes that are ripening. See, their tomatoes are starting to ripen in there. The tomato year has been not as great. Tomatillos, yes. See, these ones are about right. As soon as they start to split, back up a little bit, on the end, then you know they're ripe, and their husks start to dry out a little bit. Like, see how that one's starting to split a little bit more? And they kind of turn like a yellow color too. At least this variety. So you can kind of see all that. Do you see Sebastian all the way over there? Wave, Sebastian.
Hi. I'm picking some tomatoes because I'm hungry.
Yep, yep.
As you can tell,
They hardly ever make it into the house.
As you can tell, there are a lot because they are doing amazing.
So I order my seeds mostly from Baker Creek, and they sent us a bunch of free seeds this year, and one of them is called a spoon tomato.
Yeah.
Now, this is how big they are. Here.
Yeah, they're absolutely tiny.
Small, but oh, they taste good.
Yeah, you've probably seen me eating them before in an earlier video.
Yeah. Yep, Sebastian's definitely favorite tomato. There.
Same for the black cherries. They're also good.
Yep, here are my black cherry tomatoes. And in our climate, honestly, it's easier to grow the cherry tomatoes than the big ones. Like the other tomato that you saw is called Bonnie's Best. Let me get you. You can see those guys in there. Oh, I got a spider on the camera. There we go. And there's not very many on here. And I've tried several different ways to grow the tomatoes. And I keep them trimmed up to a certain point, and then I let them go crazy. Let them do what tomatoes do. And that way we get a little bit better harvest out of them. But this year, it's just not been a tomato year other than the spoon tomatoes. They are fantastic growers. I will definitely be growing them again next year. Okay, so now we're moving down to the other end of the trellis. And this is where I have like my cucumbers. There's another cucumber. And I have my little melons. Like, let's see, there's one. And these are the Witcher Sweets. And those are the peach. And one thing I love about these ones is that when they're ripe, they fall off. And a nasturtium that decided to plant itself this year. And some more of the melons. I had loofahs at this end of the garden, but the roly-polies absolutely ate them down to the ground. And it was too late for me to try to start anymore. This is my lettuce plant that decided to plant itself as well. And I am waiting for the seeds to get ripe. And then I'm going to spread it throughout my garden because I had 3 heads that came up. Here we can kind of see some of the other stuff down here by themselves. So I know that this lettuce will do absolutely fantastic. Oh, there was an earwig. And yes, I have an earwig problem too, as you here can see.
Oh my gosh.
This year's been really bad for bugs. Even in our house, we've noticed like a lot of spiders. And look at the watermelon. I am so excited. This is my first year I've actually gotten a watermelon to grow.
Me too. I love melons. They're amazing.
Yeah.
Especially if they're big. But I mean, you gotta appreciate the little things too, because one day you might look back and you'll realize they were big things. Actually getting a melon to grow, like, look, here's another one, is a very big achievement for us.
One. Sorry if I move around a little fast. It's the first time doing filming like this. And there is a Kajari melon. Never had them. Thought I'd try them. Looked fun. Found it on Baker Creek. And then here's our big, huge sunflowers that the squirrels have not eaten. Here, let me show you the top of the sunflowers here. There really isn't much left because these ones I plant for the squirrels, so they leave the rest of my garden alone, and it works.
Yeah, the squirrels, they just ravage the sunflowers. Like it's like their favorite food. Like we've caught the squirrels taking down those sunflowers so many times before. It's impressive.
Alright, so last year I grew cosmos, and they were as tall as the sunflowers and blocked out this part of the garden. This is one that had gone to seed, and I ended up taking them all out because it was just way too much. So you can see this is where we do everything that grows long vines and decides to grow everywhere. And next year, where all this brick is, we are going to be changing it to the cinder blocks because I want the little pockets to grow in. I absolutely love that. It's one of the best things about them. Here's Sebastian again.
It's like plants growing on the border. Like you just grow them there. Like it's amazing.
Couple more planters.
It's extra space for your plants, and it's so helpful, especially if you're looking for variety and companion plants.
Yep, and companion plants. So I've got a couple onions in there still. This is lemongrass, which didn't do as well as I wanted. We're going to keep trying it though. Chamomile, which is about done. Basil, nasturtiums, onions. Lots of companion plants around all of this. And as you can see, my lawn is not all grass. These are violets. And I let all of our weeds grow in our lawn because I want the diversity in there. Plus, we wouldn't have much of a lawn if we didn't have the weeds.
Yeah, these weeds kind of look like lily pad plants, but like on land. They're like land lily pads because they resemble that.
There's a big nasturtium. Ooh, look at that flower. That is just absolutely beautiful. And then another beautiful marigold. And the way I deadheaded is I pop these off, throw it back into the garden.
Yeah.
This one's about done.
Yeah.
Another onion, another basil plant. More nasturtiums. I love nasturtiums. I always end up I get about 3 packets, and I always use about 3 packets. Oh, let's see if I can. It's another one. Oh, there's another really pretty red one. And this is my parsley patch. And you can see most of them have gone to seed. And this comes back every year. I have had this parsley patch since I planted it probably about 5 years ago. It keeps coming back. I do not have to do anything with it. And since our little rabbit absolutely loves parsley, this is why we grow it. I'm going to thin it out a little bit next year and try to move it, maybe save some of the seeds as well. Sebastian, will you go turn off the water to the pepper bed so that I can show them the pepper bed? Thank you.
Yeah, and also deadheading is a really good idea, like, because for one, it helps the plant grow better, but for two, if you throw the dead flowers into the bed, like what Mom just did a few minutes ago, I think, the flowers and all the other dead matter will decay into compost, which will turn into fertilizer. And fertilizer is a vital ingredient when having a garden, because it makes your plants grow a lot better because they get the nutrients they need to grow.
Okay, so as you can see, these dill plants are growing out of my paving stones. These were volunteers. I never thought I could grow dill until they volunteered themselves into my garden. So now I just let them go. And this year I will also be saving the seeds so that I can try to get them to grow in other parts of my garden. Because it's kind of hard, as you can see, there's Sebastian, to get back here now.
Yeah.
So this is the back part of my garden. You can see this is a pepper bed, an eggplant bed. I've got a lilac at the end. And then these are my raspberries. My raspberries were doing fantastic. You can see some of the new raspberries coming on right here. And then the heat hit, and they turned to this.
Yeah.
So they don't look so good. In fact, some of the raspberries didn't even ripen, and they just died right on the plant. I mean, we still got a ton of raspberries, probably more than we could eat, but as you can see, a lot of them died on the plant. But these are golden raspberries, as you can see, some right here.
Excuse me.
We get 2 crops of them, and they almost go all year long, but the best flush is in the spring and then again in the fall. And here, get the camera in here. Thank goodness it's a GoPro and it can get wet. Here's some of our peppers. These are jalapenos. We always have amazing luck with jalapenos. Eggplants, on the other hand, not so much. Luckily, they're blooming right now. And let's see if I can get in here. And there are tiny Thai eggplants. Here, let me see if I can show you. And I thought we might be able to grow these better than the really big ones, and we're having better success. Now these are supposed to be Anaheims, but they do not look like Anaheims. They look more like a chili. They're all wrinkly. So I think there's something else. And Donnie absolutely loves hot peppers, so that's why I grow them. I can stand the jalapenos. These other ones, nope, not for me. And these are our chilies, which they haven't done anything yet, but they will in a little bit closer to fall. And as you can see, this is the side of the garden that doesn't get as much sun, but they're starting to bloom now. That's starting to cool down. And this is our massive lilac plant that we transplanted from Donnie's granny's house. His mom and dad got his house, her house, excuse me, after she passed away, and they were digging up the lilac bush. So we decided that we wanted it, since Donnie actually planted it for his granny, and we brought it here. And I will show you in the spring. It's beautiful, beautiful purple flowers. I wish they'd bloomed longer. And there's another example of what happened to the raspberry plants. But all of this is the new growth. I only cut these back in the spring because we get growth off of the new and old shoots. We get blooms off of the new and old shoots. It doesn't matter. So I leave these guys alone. There you can see some of the grasshopper damage. A little bit not as bad as the ones up front. But we're getting lots of new shoots. And this year we also put up all of these posts, and we tried to kind of keep them contained because normally I can walk past here. Didn't quite work this year. We're going to try some, I think it's like baling wire, I believe, is what we have. And we're going to do that in the spring. We're probably going to put some other posts up a little bit higher to kind of contain this huge, huge mess at the moment. But I'd love to be able to come down this side of the garden. And this is also the garden bed that we have the drip irrigation in. But we still do water it by sprinkler, just because it gets a larger area than this. It waters the lilac bush and the raspberries. But they only get water twice a week. And this we hand water when we have to. So today we're doing overhead. This is my Goji Berry. And, let's see it. Try not to point you guys in the sun. Let me turn around. Goji Berry flowers. Very excited. So this plant was almost dead last year, and I had it in a different pot. I moved it here, and it was probably about this tall. This is all the growth in 1 year. It's gotten huge. And the squirrels love to run along the top, and they eat the top of the plant. So I guess it kind of keeps it in check. So let's see. That is pretty much my garden. On the back side of the house is just storage. It's just gravel, and I store some things back there. There's Patsy Rabbit. Happy to be outside.
And there were bees on the catnip plant.
Yes. Oh, let's see if we can get a shot of the bees on the catnip plant.
Well, they kind of flew off, but hopefully, yep, there's still some are still here. Yeah,
oh,
if you,
yep. Here we go.
This isn't really a tip, it's more like a sort of like...
They absolutely love the catnip.
Yeah.
Favorite plant.
It's not really a tip, it's more like of a thing you could do, but bees love catnip. And bees pollinate the plants, which makes them grow better. If you want good plant growth, then catnip could be a recommendation. And also, if you have a cat that absolutely loves catnip is also a recommendation.
Yeah, they also love our other forage plants here. So back to over here by the rabbit. And that is pretty much full circle of our garden. Alright guys, so that is the whole entire garden in late August. It's got a couple more days and then it will be September and we will be pretty close to going into fall. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you comment below with questions, I will try to answer them to the best of my knowledge. I don't know everything. And this is us signing off for today.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good rest of your day.
Yep. Happy gardening.
And happy harvesting.